All righty, cool.
So if we want this part to be out in YouTube land, you want to start with your disclaimer.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay,
I'm
just
not
goes
just
on YouTube land.
starting
Okay,
recording, and then we can,
all
probably
right,
add.
sure.
Yeah,
Anytime you're
really,
ready.
John Fernandez, California. Penny,
Yes.
Eugene, I really think this is worthwhile because this is so fascinating that Washington did this way back when,
Hmm.
and it just changes so many people's opinion of what
Oh,
really
yeah.
happened.
Yep.
It's a great education. Thank you.
Yes, I agree.
Good work.
All righty. All right, well, good. We'll start off with, we're recording this now? All right,
I'm
this
assuming
is,
we might want
okay,
to verify with David. Hey, David, do
Dave.
you open mic and say yes?
Yep, we're recording.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
all
cool.
righty. All righty. Well, we're going to go with, hey, this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. And so let us continue. Alrighty, I am reading from some letters from George Washington to the Senate and to the House of Representatives. And it starts off with a little note that says, military dictator George Washington divided the states or estates into districts based upon the ritualistic practice of dissecting the Masonic square. This is why, even today, so many towns are built on the square. America is truly the land of the free. The Freemason, that is.
So, can you remember where you got this information? I mean, and if you
Uh,
explain to the YouTube
yeah,
world, this isn't easily found on the internet anymore, but we were talking about the Wayback Machine. You might be able to find it if you use
yes.
that.
And it's from the Gutenberg.org files. One. And there is a link down in here that you can put in there. And if any guys can look and find it on the Wayback Machine.
It's right down
Okay.
there. Yep.
But it is in there. All right, let's start with the United States, March 4th of 1791. Gentlemen of the Senate, pursuant to the powers vested in me by the act entitled, an act repealing after the last day of June next the duties heretofore laid upon distilled spirits imported from abroad and laying others in their stead, and also upon spirits distilled within the United States, and for appropriating the same. I have thought fit to divide the United States into the following districts, namely, the District of New Hampshire, to consist of the state of New Hampshire, the District of Massachusetts, to consist of the state of Massachusetts, the District of Rhode Island and the Providence Plantations, to consist of the state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations, the District of Connecticut, to consist of the state of Connecticut, the District of Vermont, to consist of the state of Vermont, the District of New York, to consist of the state of New York, the District of New Jersey, to consist of the state of New Jersey, the District of Pennsylvania, to consist of the state of Pennsylvania, the District of Delaware to consist of the state of Delaware, the District of Maryland to consist of the state of Maryland, the District of Virginia to consist of the state of Virginia, the District of North Carolina to consist of the state of North Carolina, and the District of Georgia to consist of the state of Georgia. Oh, let me add something real quick. This is 1791. So, if 1791, George Washington created these, quote, districts and states, how did you get the state of Pennsylvania's Constitution written by Benjamin Franklin in September of 1776? Might want to ask that question. Anyway, I hereby nominate as supervisors of said districts, respectively, the following persons, viz. For the District of New Hampshire, Joshua Wentworth. For the District of Massachusetts, Nathan Gorham. For the District of Rhode Island and the Providence Plantation, John S. Dexter. For the District of Columbia, John Chester. For the District of Vermont, Noah Smith. And the District of New York, William S. Smith. For the District of New Jersey, Aaron Dunham. For the District of Pennsylvania, George Clymer. George Clymer, huh? You may want to dig up on that guy. And for the District of for Delaware, Henry Latimer. And for the District of Maryland, George Gale. The District of Virginia, Edward Carrington. And for the District of North Carolina, William Polk. For the District of South Carolina, Daniel Stevens. And the District of Georgia, John Matthews. George Washington. Footnote 1 for the proclamation convening Senate in the extraordinary sessions, see page 587. Okay. Special messages, the United States, October 26 of 1791. I lay before the copies of the following acts, which have been transmitted to me during the recess of Congress, viz. An act passed by the legislature of New Hampshire for ceding to the United States the fort and lighthouse belonging to said state. An act of the legislature of Pennsylvania ratifying on behalf of said state for the first article of amendment to the Constitution of the United States as proposed by Congress, and an act of legislature of North Carolina granting the use of the jails within the state to the United States. The United States, November 10 of 1791. Gentlemen of the Senate and House of Representatives, the resolution passed at the last session of Congress requesting that the President of the United States to cause an estimate to be laid before Congress at their next session to quantity and situation of the claims of the lands not claimed by Indians, nor granted nor claimed by any of the citizens of the United States within the territory ceded to the United States by the state of North Carolina within the territory of the United States, northwest of the River Ohio, which has been referred to as the Secretary of State, a copy whose report on the subject I now lay before you, together with the copy of a letter accompanying it. George Washington. I'd imagine he's referring to the Northwest Ordinance. Proclamation from Sparks, Washington, Volume 10, page 532. Whereas certain violent and unwarrantable proceedings have lately taken place tending to obstruct the operation of the laws of the United States for raising a revenue upon spirits distilled within the same, enacted pursuant to the express authority delegated in the Constitution of the United States, which proceedings are subversive of good order, contrary to the duty that every citizen owes to his country and to the laws, and of the nature dangerous to the very being of government. And whereas such proceedings are the more unwarrantable by the reason of moderation which has been heretofore shown to the part of the government, and of the disposition which has been manifested by the legislature, who alone have the authority to suspend the operation of law, to obviate causes of objection, and to render the laws acceptable as possible. And whereas it is particular duty of the executive to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, not only that the duty, but the permanent interest and happiness of the people require that every legal and necessary step be pursued, as well as to prevent such violent and unwarrantable proceedings as to bring justice to the infractors of the laws and secure obedience thereto. Now, therefore, I, George Washington, President of the United States, do by these presents most earnestly admonish and exhort all persons whom it may concern to refrain and desist from all unlawful combinations and proceedings whatsoever having for object or tending to obstruct the operation of laws aforesaid, inasmuch as all lawful ways and means will strictly put in execution for bringing to justice the infractors thereof and securing obedience thereto. And I do moreover charge and require that all courts, magistrates, and officers whom it may concern, according to the duties of their several offices, to exert the powers in them respectively vested by the law for purposes aforesaid, hereby also enjoining and requiring all persons whomsoever, as they tender the welfare of their country, the just and the due authority of the government, the preservation of the public peace to be aiding and assisting therein according to law. In testimony whereof I have caused the seal of the United States to be affixed to the presents and signed the same with my hand. And there's the seal. Boy, the seal. That seal. Seal of the United States. Who has possession of said seal? Done this 15th September AD 1792 in the independence of the United States, the 17th. George Washington. Address to the Senate to George Washington, President of the United States. The President of the United States. Accept, sir, the thanks of the Senate in your speech delivered to both House of Congress in the opening of the session. Your re-election to the Chief Magistrate of the United States gives us sincere pleasure.
Did you notice it's all caps here and then?
Yeah, there you go.
But the is not.
Yeah.
President of the United States. Didn't say the.
Well, yeah, you have to remember, George, what styles were they using? Well, they were using both, right?
Yep.
This is where they start that whole impersonation crap between the jurisdictions. Because what is this now when George is moving you from the continental land back into the Admiralty? Right? Think about it. Right? If you are the Admiralty already, right? Because what happens, what's going on here is that George was elected as Julius Caesar. Okay? He has a standing army. He can enforce whatever he wants to enforce. And this is all, what's really funny about it is if you see what's going on here, this is all over what? Stills? Right? The distillation of alcohol. That's all this is. Whether it be the actual product that was created by the still or the actual still. Two things. So, yeah. This is what all this is about. There's nothing else but that. So, in other words, you're saying, though, wait a minute. Oh, so these guys have created a central government, and the only means for them to create any type of revenue is to what? To tax stills? What? I mean, long before there was any other tobacco or firearms crap, it all started with these stills. All right. Let's get things straight here. United States, January 21 of 1794. Gentlemen of the Senate and the House of Representatives, it is with satisfaction that I announce to you the alterations which have been made by law. Well, that's convenient. And in the original plan for raising duties on spirits distilled within the United States. Back to that again. That's all it ever is. And on stills, cooperating with better information have had a considerable influence in obviating the difficulties which have embarrassed that branch of public revenue. But but the obstacles which have been experienced, though lessened, are not yet entirely surmounted. It would seem that some further legislative provisions may usefully be superadded, which leads me to recall the attention of Congress to the subject. Among the matters which may demand regulation in effect in points of organization produced by the separation of Kentucky from the state of Virginia, and the situation with regard to the law of the territories northwest and southwest of Ohio. The laws respecting lighthouse establishments requiring, as a condition of their permanent maintenance at the expense of the United States, a complete cessation of soil and jurisdiction. Really? The secession of different states having been qualified with a reservation of the right of serving legal process within the ceded jurisdictions are understood to be inclusive by annexing a qualification non-constant with terms of the law. I present these circumstances to the view of Congress, that they may judge whether any alterations ought to be made. As it appears to be comfortable with the intentions of the ordinance for the government of the territories of the United States northwest of the River Ohio, although it is not expressly directed that the laws of that territory should be laid before Congress, I now transmit to you a copy of such as have been passed from July to December 1792, inclusive, being the last which have been received by the Secretary of State. Okay. George Washington. By the President of the United States of America, proclamation. Whereas I have received information that certain persons in violation of the law have pursued under the color of foreign authority to enlist citizens of the United States and others within the state of Kentucky, and have there assembled an armed force for the purpose of invading and plundering the territories of a nation at peace with the United States, and whereas such unwarrantable measures, being contrary to the laws of nations and to the duties incumbent on every citizen of the United States, tend to disturb the tranquility of the same and to involve them in calamities of war, and whereas it is the duty of the executive to take care that such criminal proceedings should be suppressed, the offenders brought to justice, and all good citizens cautioned against measures likely to prove so pernicious to their country and themselves that they should be seduced into similar infractions of the law. I have therefore thought proper to issue this proclamation hereby, solemnly warning every person not authorized by the law against enlisting any citizen or citizens of the United States, or levying troops or assembling any persons within the United States for the purpose aforesaid, or proceeding in any manner to the execution thereof, as they will answer for the same at their peril. And I do also admonish and require that all citizens to refrain from enlisting and enrolling and assembling themselves for such unlawful purposes, and from being in any wise concerned aiding or abetting therein, as they tender their own welfare, in as much as all lawful means will strictly be put in execution for securing obedience to the laws and punishing such dangerous and daring violations thereof. And I do moreover charge and require all courts, magistrates, and other officers whom it may concern according to their respective duties to exert the powers in them severely vested to prevent and suppress all unlawful assemblages and proceedings, and to bring to condign punishment those who may have been guilty thereof, and thereof as they regard the due authority of government and the peace and welfare of the United States. In testimony whereof I have caused the seal of the United States of America to be affixed to these presents, and signed the same with my hand. The seal done at the city of Philadelphia on the 24th day of March in 1794, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 18th. George Washington, by President E.D.M. Randolph. From the Annals of Congress, 4th Congress, 2nd Session, 2796. By the President of the United States of America, a proclamation, whereas combinations to defeat the execution of the laws, laying duties upon spirits distilled within the United States and still upon stills having from time of the commencement of those laws existed in some of the western parts of Pennsylvania, and whereas the said combination proceedings in a manner subversive equally of the just authority of the government and the rights of individuals have hitherto affected their dangerous and criminal purposes by the influence of certain irregular meetings whose proceedings have tended to encourage and uphold the spirit of opposition by misrepresentation of the laws calculated to render them odious, by endeavors to deter those who might be so disposed from accepting offices under them through fear of public resentment and of injury to persons and property, and to compel those who had accepted such offenses by actual violence to surrender or forbear the execution of them, by circulating vindictive menaces against all those who shall otherwise directly or indirectly aid in the execution of said laws, or who, yielding to the dictates of conscience, a conscience and a sense of obligation, should themselves comply therewith by actually injuring and destroying the property of persons who are understood to have been so complied, by inflicting cruel and humiliating punishments upon private citizens for no other cause than that of appearing to be friends of the law, by intercepting the public officers on the highway, abusing, assaulting, and otherwise ill-treating them, by going to their houses in the night and gaining admittance by force and taking away their papers and committing other outrages, employing these unwarrantable purposes, the agencies of armed banditis disguised in such manners, for the most part to escape discovery, and whereas the endeavors of the legislature to obviate objections to the said laws by lowering the duties of other alterations conducive to the convenience of those whom they immediately affect through their given satisfaction in other quarters, and the endeavors of the executive office to conciliate in compliance with the laws of explanation by forbearance and even by particular combinations founded on the suggestion of local considerations, have been disappointed of their effect by the machinations of persons whose industries to excite resistance has increased with every appearance of disposition among people to relax their opposition to acquiesce in laws, insomuch that many persons in the said western parts of Pennsylvania have at length been hardy enough to perpetrate acts which I am advised amount to treason, being overt acts of levying war against the United States, and said persons having on 16th and 17th of July last past proceeded in arms on the second day, amounting to several hundreds, to the house of John Neville, Inspector of the Revenue for the 4th Survey of the District of Pennsylvania. Let me say that again. On the second day, amounting to several hundreds, to the house of John Neville, the Inspector of Revenue for the 4th Survey of the District of Pennsylvania. The 4th survey, right? Is this something that was surveyed by what? Okay, and into the district, and this one, what? And this person, this John Neville, is in charge of this said district that was laid out by George Washington? Just so we get all this stuff straight, everybody, okay? So, all these people are over at this guy's house because what? George Washington says, hey, anybody here distilling alcohol has to pay the bitch. I don't even know if I should pay for that one, but okay? That's what all that shit means. So whoop-dee to George Washington's fucking authority. Fuck you. You're a booze peddler. Seriously. All right. So much for this guy. So, Inspector of the Revenue, 4th Circuit of Pennsylvania, having repeatedly attacked the said house with persons therein, wounding some of them, having seized David Lennox, Marshal of the District of Pennsylvania. You hear that, folks? The District of Pennsylvania has a marshal named David Lennox. Just so you know. Who, previously there too, had been fired upon. Whoa. While in the execution of his duty by a party of armed men. Boy, you see what they think about your authority. Detaining him for some time, prisoner till the preservation of his life and obtaining of his liberty. He found it necessary to enter into stipulations to forbear the execution of certain official duties touching processes issuing out of a court of the United States, and finally obligated the said inspector of the said United States, said revenue, that the said marshal, from considerations of personal safety, to fly from part of this country in order, by a circuitous route, to proceed to the seat of government, avowing as motives of the outrageous proceedings as intention to prevent by force of arms the execution of said laws, to oblige said inspector of the revenue to renounce his office to withstand by open violence the lawful authority of the government of the United States, and to compel thereby any alteration in measure of the legislature to repeal of the laws aforesaid. And whereas by a law of the United States entitles an act to provide for the calling forth of the militia to execute laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions, it is enacted that whenever the laws of the United States shall be opposed or the execution thereof obstructed in any state by combination too powerful to be suppressed by any ordinary course of judicial proceedings or by powers vested in the marshal by the act, the same being notified by the associate justice and the district judge. Well, it shall be lawful for the President of the United States to call forth the militia of the state to suppress any combination and to cause the laws to be duly executed. And if the militia of the state where such combinations may happen shall refuse to be insufficient to suppress the same, it shall be lawful for the President, if the legislature of the United States shall not be in session, to call forth and employ such number of the militia, if any of the state or states most convenient thereto may be necessary, to use of the militia so to be called forth may be continued, if necessary, until the expiration of 30 days after the commencement of the ensuing session, provided always that whenever it may be necessary in judgment that the President to use the military force hereby directed to be called forth, the President shall forthwith and previous hereto by proclamation command any insurgents to disperse and retire peaceably to their respective abodes within a limited time. And whereas James Wilson, an associate justice on the 4th instance, by writing under his hand, did, from evidence which had been laid before him, notified me that in the counties of Washington and Allegheny in Pennsylvania, the laws of the United States are opposed and the execution thereof obstructed by combinations too powerful to suppress by any ordinary course of judicial proceedings or by the powers vested in the marshal of the district. And whereas it is in my judgment necessary under the circumstances of the cause to take measure for calling forth the militia in order to suppress the combinations aforesaid and to cause the laws to be duly executed, I have accordingly determined so to do, feeling the deepest regret for the occasion, but with all the solemn conviction that the essential interests of the Union demanded that the very existence of the government and the fundamental principles of social order are materially involved in the issue, and the patriotism and the firmness of all good citizens are seriously called upon as occasion may require to aid in the effectual suppression of so fatal a spirit. Wherefore, in pursuant of the proviso above recited, I, George Washington, President of the United States, do hereby command all persons being insurgents aforesaid, all others whom it may concern on or before the first day of September next to disperse and retire peaceably to their respective abodes. I do moreover warn all persons whomsoever against aiding, abetting, or comforting the perpetrators of aforesaid treasonable acts, and do require all officers and other citizens, according to their respective duties and laws of the land, to exert their utmost endeavors to prevent and suppress such dangerous proceedings. In testimony whereof I have caused the seal of the United States of America to be fixed on these presents, and signed the same with my hand. The seal, done on the city of Philadelphia on the 7th day of August in 1794, and in the independence of the United States of America, the 19th. George Washington, by the President, E.D.M. Randolph. From the Annals of Congress, Third Congress, 1401-3. By the President of the United States of America, a proclamation. Whereas from a hope that the combinations against the Constitution and laws of the United States in certain of the western counties of Pennsylvania would yield to time and reflection, I thought it sufficient in the first instance, rather than take measure for calling forth the militia, then immediately embody them. But the moment is now come when the overtures of forgiveness and no other conditions than the submission to law have been partially accepted, when every form of conciliation not consistent with being of government has been adopted without effect, and when the well-disposed in these counties are unable by their influence and example to reclaim the wicked from their fury, and are compelled to associate in their own defense, when pro-offered leniency has been perversely and misinterpreted into apprehension that the citizens will march with reluctance, when the opportunity of examining the serious consequences of treasonable opposition has been employed by propagating principles of anarchy, endeavoring through emissaries to alienate the friends of order from its support, and inviting its enemies to perpetrate similar acts of insurrection when it is manifest that violence would continue to be exercised upon every attempt to enforce laws. When, therefore, government is set at the defiance, the contest being whether a small portion of the United States shall dictate to the whole Union, and at the expense of those who desire peace and indulge a desperate ambition. Now, therefore, I, George Washington, President of the United States, in obedience to the high and irresistible command consigned to me by the Constitution, to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, deploring that the American name should be sold by the outrages of the citizens of their own government, commiserating in such obstinate from delusion, but resolved in perfect reliance on that gracious providence which is so signally displayed in its goodness toward this country, to reduce the refractory to due subordination to the laws, do hereby declare and make known that with a satisfaction which can be equaled only by its merits of the militia summoned into service from the states of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, I have received intelligence of their patriotic alacrity in obeying the call of present, though painful yet commanding necessity, that a force within according to every reasonable expectation is adequate to the exigency already in motion, to the scene of disaffection, that those who have confided or shall confide in the protection of government shall meet the full succor under the standard from which the arms of the United States, and that those who, having offended against the laws, have since entitled themselves to indemnity will be treated with the utmost liberal good faith if they shall not have forfeited their claim any subsequent conduct, and that instructions are given accordingly. And I do, moreover, exhort all individuals, officers, and bodies of men to contemplate with abhorrence the measure leading directly or indirectly to those crimes which produce the resort to military coercion, to check in their respective spheres the efforts of misguided or designing men to substitute their misrepresentation in the place of truth for their discontent in the place of stable government, and to call to mind that as the people of the United States have been permitted under the divine favor in perfect freedom after solemn deliberation and in the enlightened age to elect their own government, so will their gratitude for the inestimable blessing to be distinguished by firm exertions to maintain the Constitution and laws. And lastly, I again warn all persons, whomsoever, wheresoever, not to abet, aid, or comfort the insurgents aforesaid, as they will answer to the contrary at their peril. And I do also require that all officers and other citizens, according to their several duties as far as may be in their power, to bring under the cognizance of the laws of all offenders in the premises, in testimony thereof, whereof I have caused the seal of the United States of America to be affixed to these presents and signed the same with my hand, seal. Done in the city of Philadelphia on the 25th day of September in 1794, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 19th. George Washington, by President E.D.M. Randolph. The address of the House of Representatives to George Washington, President of the United States. Sir, the House of Representatives calling to mind the blessings enjoyed by the people of the United States, especially the happiness living under the Constitution and the laws which rest on their authority alone, could not learn with other emotions that those you have expressed that any part of our fellow citizens should have shewn themselves capable of insurrection. And we learned that the greatest concern that any misrepresentation of whatever of the government and its proceedings, either by individuals or combinations of men, should have been made, and so far credited to the foment and flagrant outrage which has been committed on the laws, we feel with you the deepest regret at so painful an occurrence in the annals of our country, as men regretful of the tender interest of humanity. This is booze we're talking about, right? This is stills and booze. The tender interest of humanity. You hear this shit? We look with grief at scenes which might have stained our land with civil blood, as lovers of public order, and lament that it has suffered so flagrant a violation as zealous friends of the Republican government. We deplore. Is that where Hillary got that shit? We deplore every occasion in which the hands of the enemies may be turned into a calamity against it. This aspect of crisis, however, is happily not the only one which it presents. There is another which yields all the consolations which you have drawn from it. It is demonstrated to the candid world as well as the American people themselves, that a great body of them everywhere are equally attached to the luminous and vital principle of our Constitution, which enjoins that the will of the majority shall prevail. What? Do you hear that, people? You fucking hear that? The will of the majority will prevail. Fuck you and your democracy, George. Fuck you. Yeah, all right. The will of the people. Okay. What? So you can get money for your still? Your fucking vice tax? Yeah. Where am I at? So, they're watchful over their rights, and that they will be as ready as all times to crush oh my God, licentiousness, as they have been to defeat usurpation. Oh my God, I'm having a really hard time today. But usurpation, in a word, that they are capable of carrying into execution that noble plan of self-government which have chosen to the guarantee of their own happiness and the asylum for that of all, from every clime who may wish to unite their destiny with ours. These are the just inferences flowing from the promptitude with which the summons to the standard of the laws has been obeyed. From the sentiments which have been witnessed in every description of citizens in every quarter of the Union, the spectacle, therefore, when viewed in its true light, may be affirmed to display in equal luster the virtues of the American character and the value of a Republican government. Wow! Did they just like shove democracy up your ass and then in the same sentence say American character and the value of a Republican government? All must particularly acknowledge and applaud the patriotism of the portions of citizens who have freely sacrificed everything less dear than the love of their country to the meritorious task of defending its happiness. My. How benevolent of you. In the part in which you have yourself borne through this delicate and distressing period, we trace the additional proofs it is afforded of your solitude for the public good, your laudable and successful endeavors to render lenity in executing the laws of conducive to their real energy, and to convert tumult into order without the effusion of blood, form of particular title in the confidence and praise of your constituents. In all that may be found necessary on our part to complete this benevolent purpose, and to secure the ministers and friends of the laws against that remains of danger, our due cooperation will be afforded. All subjects which you have recommended or communicated, and of which several are peculiarly interesting, will all receive the attention which they demand. We are deeply impressed with the importance of the effectual organization of the militia. We rejoin at the intelligence of the advance and success of the army under the command of General Wayne. Whether we regard it as proof of the perseverance, prowess, and superiority of our troops, or the happy presage of our military operations against hostile Indians, and as a probable prelude to the establishment of a lasting peace under the terms of candor, equity, and good neighborhood. We receive it with the greater pleasure as it increases the probability of sooner restoring a part of the public resources to the desirable objects of reducing the public debt. We shall, on this, as all occasions, be disposed to adopt any measure which may advance the safety and prosperity of our country. In nothing can we more cordially unite with you than imploring the supreme ruler of nations to multiply his blessings on the United States, to guard our free and happy Constitution against every emaciation and danger, and to make it the best source of public happiness by verifying its character of being the best safeguard of human rights. Really? Human rights, man. 1794, George is talking about human rights. My.
Wow.
Yeah. November 28, 1794. So from Sparks, Washington, volume 12, page 134. Proclamation. Whereas the commissioners appointed by the President of the United States to confer with citizens of the western counties of Pennsylvania during the late insurrection which prevailed therein, by their acts and agreements bearing date the 2nd day of September last, in the pursuant of the power in them vested, did promise and engage that if assurance and the submission of the laws of the United States should be a bona fide and given by the citizen residents in the 4th survey of Pennsylvania. See that, guys, girls? Citizen resident. Citizens residents. Okay. 1794. Citizen residents, resident citizen, all that good stuff. Okay, just saying. Where you see these words come from? 4th survey of Pennsylvania district. Really? In the manner where within the time in the said act and agreement specified, a general pardon should be granted on the 10th day of July, then next ensuing of all treason and other indictable offenses against the United States committed within the said survey. Wow. Jurisdictional boundary, right? Committed offense within the survey, the boundary. Okay. Before the 22nd day of August last, there excluding therefrom, nevertheless, every person who should refuse or neglect to subscribe to such assurance and engagement in the manner aforesaid, or in a manner aforesaid, hold on a second, man. Who should after subscription violate the same, or willfully obstruct or attempt to obstruct the execution of the acts for raising a revenue on distilled spirits and stills, or be aiding or abetting therein, and boy, oh boy, all over stills, man. Whereas I have since thought proper to extend the said pardon to all persons guilty of said treasons, misprisions of treason, or otherwise concerned in the late insurrection within a survey aforesaid, who have not since been indicted or convicted thereof, or of any other offense against the United States. Therefore, it be known that I, George Washington, President of the said United States, have granted, and by these presents do grant a full, free, and entire pardon to all persons, accepting as is hereinafter accepted, of all treasons, misprisions of treasons, and other indictable offenses against the United States committed within the 4th survey of the Pennsylvania before the said 22nd day of August last past, excepting the exclusion from therefrom, never Nevertheless, every person who refused or neglected to give subscribed assurances in the matter as aforesaid, or having subscribed, hath violated the same, and now standeth indicted or convicted of any treason, misprision of treason, or other offense against the said United States, hereby remitting and releasing unto all persons except as for accepted all penalties incurred or supposed to be incurred for or on account of the premises. In testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the United States to be affixed on this 10th day of June, A.D. 1795, and the 20th year of the independence of said United States. Seal, George Washington. So, there you go. That would say Julius Caesar would be proud. So, anybody got any comments?
I just want to see. Way to go, George, man. What a guy, huh?
Who is that, Alex?
Yeah.
Yo, bro. Yo, man. Play the reggae song.
All right.
All right, listen up, everybody. Please sit down because Alex is about to entertain you for about 3 minutes. And I can't believe it went on for 2 minutes and 41 seconds. But Alex is going to entertain us while we digress.
All right, here we go.
All right, here we go, guys.
Nice
And if we have complaints from the Jamaican, if we have complaints from the Jamaican people, you're going to have to address them to Alex.
We'll turn comments off.
Do you know who you are? Like Eugene does. De facto doesn't like him, but he don't care because he's a usufruct master, claiming back his name. Once you see the frog, you are never the same.
I love it.
Eugene can be loud, but he is also true. His logic is sound and can help you too, because he's a usufruct master, claiming back his name. Once you see the frog, you are never the same. Be free from the frog. Eugene can help you.
I love the little lead. It's awesome. Oh, thank you, Alex. I am so flattered. Thank you. My wife loves it. I'm just not allowed to listen to this stuff like early in the morning because she gets all pissed off. I just start laughing, and she's like, "What the hell are you waking me up for?" I'm like, because it's funny. And so yeah, thank you so much. I said it to my friends, and they're just like, "What the hell's wrong with you guys?"
That's actually really good. Thank you, Alex.
You're welcome,
Alex
guys.
is the man, man. Alex is the man. Thank you. So yes, yeah, we just got to get Alex out there to put it out there, and he can make a little money from it. We can all go and we can all support Alex in his endeavor. So yeah, it's all cool. It's all cool. But yeah. So what else? Anybody? I mean, we all think this crazy stuff that we think is in front of us goes back so far that it's just it's mind-blowing. It's mind-boggling. Like, where does it start? Where does it end? All this stuff that comes out in front of us and all this stuff now we're looking at, it's like this guy that claims to be the constitutional monarch of the United States, George Washington, the constitutional monarch. What is this crap? The same crap that they were selling you in England, right? Now it's just a rehashed version in America. And yeah, the district. Where did the districts come from? All right, we can put that mess to bed, okay? By George Washington's own hand, okay? By George Washington's own hand. So here's the one that, if anybody wants to contradict that stuff, anybody want to rebut that stuff, you're welcome to go ahead. Okay. Quite clearly what the central government of the United States was all about. What? Collecting taxes on stills? Oh, gee. Well, we got to go get the militia out. Think about what's going on here. You're getting the militia out here, what? Because what? Nobody wants to pay you for the fucking still? Right? No one wants to pay you for the still? Oh, you used.
Oh,
Yes, sir. Yeah, Kim.
I'm maybe becoming too much a conspiracy theorist, but I looked up the word stills. Still is, of course, without motion, quiet, hushed, silent. Now we're talking about distilled spirits. I just wonder if they meant a whole lot more than just about the actual stills, or if they were talking about people as stills because they're getting the militia out and they're saying, how dare you want to get the revenues, we want the revenues. And kind of reminds me of paper straws, stills, paper straws, I don't know. Maybe too conspiracy, but just a thought.
Yeah. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, that's kind of weird. Interesting. What's up, Rosie?
Rosie on Washington.
Yes,
what I
sir.
thought was they present themselves as both municipal and territorial. And also he was addressing both group of people. He talked to their employees, and also he was talking to their bosses.
His employees, yeah. The ones that he created, yeah.
Also their employers at the same time. Yeah. I yield.
Yep. That's great that you caught that, Rosie. Yeah. A lot of people don't catch that. Because remember, he hired all those people to basically what? Go around and collect taxes, right? So yeah, like people getting shot at and people not liking them, because why? Because the guys, the government wants a piece of the action when you're still. That's pretty much what it is. So yeah, this is really important for everybody to get digested. So we have a comprehension of where all this stuff started. All the stuff that's being said, all these things that we believe, we need to kind of reevaluate. Okay? We need to reevaluate this stuff because, well, it's right here in front of us. What's going on here? Can somebody explain to us what's going on here? Yeah.
May I?
Sure, Rosie, go for it.
I also see that he was definitely working for the Crown Corporation.
Oh, he always was.
No, I said the other one, the papist, the municipal.
No, he was working for both, though. You have to understand, he worked for both. Yeah.
Yes. Correct. It shows in all of these articles. I yield.
Mm-hmm. A lot of this stuff is very, very evident. It's evidentiary. And when we look at how all this was created, why do you think I keep talking about this, Oh, I forget. You know that, what the hell is that thing called? It's a, Washington, I forget where, I was looking through some Masonic Bibles, but they were talking about the Washington Monument, how the obelisks. And how that, it's Masonic in all of its glory. I wanted to go into today about the things about what you call anybody know anything about sacred geometry and Vescus or what do you call Vesica?
No. Nope.
Pisces. What's like a Pisces? It's basically when you take two circles and you put two circles together where their two radiuses meet. And so, actually, I'll put it for,
Put it in the chat.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. It's kind of.
Just marking this up while you guys are talking.
Yes, go ahead, Rosie.
About the obelisk.
Yes.
If we look at the Google map, you can see if you are standing on the side of the White House looking out to the obelisk, in front of the obelisk going out in radius, all the energy is off. But before it, going from the obelisk to the White House, there's power, and the energy is good for whoever in the White House. And also the pillars in front of the White House, when they have meetings, the president, they stand behind the pillars, because the pillars also take out people's power, and behind the pillars they gain all the powers. So they know this kind of stuff. The satanic cultists, they know about how to manipulate energy. And when we watch movies, they have witches, they're white witches, they're black witches. They all know about power, and they know how to manipulate to do what they want with what they do for the energy. So we need to learn the energetics so we can do the things that would empower us. Don and I have been experimenting with things. Well, Don and I, we know how to manipulate energy with our minds, but sometimes we want to figure out what they're doing to manipulate the energy. So we started experimenting with the obelisk. That's how we found out what they're doing with the big obelisk in front of the White House. And we try to use the obelisk inside the buildings. And we found that we cannot use them inside the buildings. They are not good for us. And we try to put it outside. And we discovered that we don't want to use obelisks, period. I yield.
Evil.
Interesting stuff. Yeah. Obelisks are, yeah, these symbols, these objects. They have a lot of ancient history associated with them.
Everything is vibrating.
But yeah,
So
the whole world's frequency.
yes, and people think a table, it's not moving, it's dead, nothing. Everything is vibrating.
Yep.
That's why some people want to use crystal and things like that, because they want to use that as some kind of vibration to do things. But people have to be careful, because using things can take yourself down also. So if you don't know how to use things, you need to be very careful. I yield.
Yes, that sounds to be good words of wisdom there.
I wasn't able
Yeah.
to open that, what you put in the chat.
Was it? Really?
I don't know. Did it start with N dot Wikipedia? Or was
Yeah.
there something before the N?
Hold on, I don't know what happened there. Hold on, let me see if I get it. Well, okay. What happened there?
May I?
Hold on, yeah. This. Yes. Go for it.
I've seen some of that sacred, how was it called? Sacred,
Geometry. Oh, sorry, you're right.
geometry. I've seen it, it's like a rose, right? I've seen it inside the pyramid, too, where they found down underneath the pyramid. There was a symbol there as the sacred geometry.
Okay, well, if you can look at what's going on here, if you take an equilateral triangle and you put 3 points on it, right? If you take each one of these points and use that as the point on the, what you call that, Visca Pisces. Okay, you see the red? You see how A and B, you see the two circles there? The A and the B, or B and C. Okay, you see how B and C? Okay. The up and the top, or which would basically set the 2 points of the circle. Well, those things are set by the radius. Okay? It's the radius of one is the radius of the other. And you see how all three of those things all create, what do they call it? An Icarus, right? That little oblong, that oval thing. Now, if anybody knows anything about the Masons and that whole sacred geometry and that whole sexuality that's involved with all that, okay, there's a certain correlation to what they're talking about there. Referring to a particular part of the female anatomy. But you see how that all of these symbols, this geometry, where it all comes from. You see how these things are created out of this equilateral triangle. Okay, all three sides congruent, created from the radius. Interesting stuff. But if you look at it, you see exactly what's going on here. And then inside this Icarus, you have two triangles inside. Okay? So if you were to draw a line across that Icarus, you would have two perfect triangles inside there. So that's where that, I don't know, sacred geometry. I get a kick out of geometry. I was a surveyor, so I kind of, yeah, I kind of see what's going on here. I don't know exactly what, you tell me what's going on, I don't know. I just know that, yeah, that's what that means, and that's what it is. Prove it and figure it out.
May I give you my take on it?
Go for it, Rosie.
I'm looking at it. If I look at each circle, the energy is good. And if I look at the total together, that energy goes off. And if I look at the triangle, it's off. So it depends on which energy you want to extract, to use, to empower yourself or to take you down. It's up to us. I yield.
Well, whatever it may be, it's interesting. Yeah. That's why we look at these things. We look at these things with different eyes, different perspectives, different. Somebody could sit here and it could be in front of all of us and nobody see it. But yeah. But some of these beliefs.
I think some interesting info about the obelisks. According to one article, it says there was a guy and he was talking to him and he said, "Did you know that Rome is often called the city of obelisks?" He says that they're Egyptian monuments in the form of a tapered four-sided stone pillars topped by a pointed pyramid shape. And the guide said, "No other city in the world has many obelisks as Rome does." And then he was bringing out that there was one obelisk in the square of St. John Lateran. This one is one of the 13 Roman obelisks still standing. But once there were many more. This one was erected on its present site by Pope Sixtus V in 1588. And then another person asked, well, what did obelisks represent in Egypt? This is interesting. It says they were fetishes of the sun god. Pliny the Elder, an ancient Roman writer, claimed they represented rays of sunlight. They were erected in temples and alongside altars, and the priests made offerings to the gods in front of them because they were even believed to personify various divinities. So I thought that was just really interesting. Rome has a lot of obelisks. 13 are still standing. How many original, stars were on the colonies' flags, or 13 colonies, right?
There you go.
Just a lot of
all these damn numbers, man. Damn, Alex, why'd you go there? Why you gotta go there, Alex? You gotta go there, man. What's wrong with you, man?
They could be towers of energy. They could be towers of energy, somehow harnessing the energy from the sun and
from the ether. Yeah. Who knows? I mean, there's so much stuff going on here that we don't. All right. You think about what's going on and what, okay, and talk about frequencies and stuff like that. Talking about, at certain places on this realm, how frequencies operate in different manners. Okay? That whole idea of levitation. How do bees fly? They don't fly. They levitate. Okay?
That's how the scarab wings are designed as well. If you look in the Egyptian, they always have the scarab, the beetle. But currently, there was one Russian scientist, forgot his name, but he studied that, and he took the scarab wings and he put a bunch of them on the bottom of a wooden plank, and it was able to start levitating. And he figured out that the design, like you were bringing out with the circles crossing each other, they made a specific design. Because of that, it had anti-gravitational effects.
There you go.
Yeah.
Frequency. Yeah. Cavitating. Yeah. How does that work? I mean, if you think about it, everything is affected by sound. Everything. I think what people should go and see, there's a really great thing on YouTube called Cymatic. It's called the science of, you've seen it, haven't you? Seen it, Alex?
Yeah, that is amazing.
It's fucking amazing. In fact, why don't we pull it up for everybody to see?
Yeah.
How about we go do that? And let's see, Cymatic, C-Y-L-A-T-I, Cymatic.
May I chime in on that one?
Sure.
Everything in the existence is all energy, vibration.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why sound does things. Light does things. Everything does things.
Yep. Frequency and vibration and light.
Alrighty, I am going to drop in the chat and let's see if we can go there. And Penny, you pull it up and we'll all sit here and go through this thing real quick. It's not that long. It's actually real nice to watch. Okay. And this is offered by, what's his name? Nigel Stanford, his name is. Okay. Got it up there, Penny? There you go. All right, go for it.
The film you're about to see has no characters. If you will spare a little of your imagination, this is a film to describe to you the effect of cymatic frequencies on matter.
This is real, folks. Everything goes with existence, solely, completely, to sound.
I think it's. I think this is.
Hmm. Really cool. I've seen that before.
So since the human body is made up of 75% water, those frequencies they have, right? They have manipulation over liquid matter. So therefore, if we have frequencies going through us, it can also have that kind of effect, not only on our whole body, but at a cellular level, which, confluates and makes the whole body a whole. So it's very interesting.
For sure.
May I?
I don't know who said
May
that.
I? This is Brian from Florida.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Have you seen the one with the eyes? There's a scientist, I think from Japan or something, but when you talk love, real nice to water and then freeze it, it comes with really nice design. Have you seen that one?
Mm-hmm. I have.
The Emoto.
Yeah. And then he had his students talk bad to some rice and say loving things to the rice, and the negative rice just rotted, and then the other rice smelled good. So it's kind of weird.
I think the book is called Images in the Water.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, everything is vibrational. That's the reason why I keep screaming about take care of the smart meter, because you can see how energy can move things. At some point, I know most people don't care about themselves, but they do care about their belongings. Your foundation can crumble over time. So that should be enough to scare people. If I say you're going to deteriorate and fall apart and die, and people don't care, but when I say your foundation's gonna crumble, they care. They're gonna do something about it. I yield.
Eugene, you're muted.
I was going to say, what are you going to say about the stuff I say?
That's why you have to watch your words.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't be freezing my words.
Well, your words, certain words are actually harmful for people. That's why I said, when, I feel like bang, 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 bang.
I'm sorry. Eugene comes with a warning label.
Yeah. Our cells are under attack.
Surgeon General has warned.
We need a bleep button. Bleep! So no one hears it.
Well, anyway.
Maybe I'll start saying beep.
There you go. Thank you, Rosie. So tomorrow, I think we're going to go back. Can we? All right. So what was missed? Do we need to do? What did we do the other day that needs to be redone?
Well, you had like the Illuminati, the dollar bill. You had, yeah.
Oh, good luck. Don't even remind me. I have no idea the stuff that goes on around here.
I mean, let's see.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever you want to do. I mean, tomorrow we can still do. What were we supposed to do, though, Commander-in-Chief? We were supposed to do something else.
May I?
Yes, Rosie. Go ahead. Remind me. What was I supposed to
The
do?
one I love the most is your Constitution. It's
Which
your
one?
Pennsylvania. You
Oh,
know
the Pennsylvania
why?
one. Are we still at that thing? Oh, jeez.
Well, because George Washington, that is 1789.
No, 91.
But your Pennsylvania one is 1776.
Mm-hmm.
So before him, it was already all taken down.
Yes, of course. You're right. Thanks for pointing that out, Rosie, because, yeah, before all this even happened, all this was already taken down. So, yeah, you're very much accurate, Rosie. And the problem is, the more we look at it, the more it just gets, it just gets uglier and uglier. Okay. Yeah. It makes it hard for us to figure out what we're actually going to do. What do we have in front of us, everybody?
We have to do things energetically.
Energetically, but we need to figure out where to start. We need to literally have to figure out where to start. I mean, yeah, we need to reassemble the counties. We need to reassemble all this stuff and rebuild what has been, or rebuild what we need to try to build. I don't know what else to say it. We can't abandon everything, but at the same time, we can't continue with what we have here.
Right. We need to take down the Holy Roman Empire.
Well, that's good. Good luck with all that. They've been trying to do that for the past 2,000 years, and
well,
hasn't been very successful.
Don and I have been working really hard on that, energetically.
No, I hope so.
Then we should call it the unholy, not holy.
Yeah, it's never been holy.
Hey, man, it's holy like Swiss cheese, okay?
Yes.
I got Swiss cheese is pretty damn holy.
WOLE.
That damn holy Swiss cheese. That's right. What the heck? I don't know. I know. I hear you. But at least we're aware. At least we know this shit's going on, and that hey, we're not awake. We're not asleep. We're awake, and yeah.
Thanks to you, Eugene.
No, thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody. It isn't just me. You too, Rosie. You do your share. Everybody here does their share. If you weren't doing your share, you wouldn't be here, right? Sure.
Yeah, but you're such a good teacher, Eugene. Thank you.
No, I just like to curse a lot, man.